Welcome to the Tweed Valley guided ride series, where we're going to be taking an inside look at the trails to help prepare you for what's out here, so you can come and make a trip here yourselves.
Unbelievable. That's so good.
So for this mini series we're joined by Tweed Valley local Gordy.
I'm aiming for a dry pants day today.
And he's going to be taking over the reins for this one. So without further ado, over to you, Gordy.
So today we are going to have a little bit of a look at the kind of older trails in the area versus some of the new school trails in the area. So we're going to have a check out of Repeat Offender and 3G, which are kind of fairly well established trails here in the area. And we're also going to have a look at Hangover and Second Base, which either kind of new or revamped trails in the area. Definitely a little bit different, a bit harder than the likes of 3G and Repeat Offender. Yeah, having a look at the different types of trails at the Golfie. We're here at the traverse into 3G and Repeat Offender. There is another kind of start into them, another little bit trail higher up the hill, but even in this glorious weather it's still a bit of a bog fest at the top, and I'm aiming for a dry pants day today, so I'm going to leave it alone. So you can see just kind of behind me here there's a bit of a traverse across towards the trees, pretty fast, pretty loose, and in the trees there fairly quickly you get to the start of 3G and Repeat Offender. You know, both kind of well kind of used, well maintained, well raced trails that have been around for a while, so yeah, it's definitely on the hit list of trails to do if you're here for a visit.
The second trail you come to is 3G, which we're about to drop down just now. So straight away down 3G you get a feeling for what the trail is going to be like. It's kind of pretty steep in places, pretty fast in places, but definitely pretty rooty a lot of the way down. I say it's quite an old trail, been used for a good few years now, raced quite a few times, seen a lot of wheels down here. So those kind of root drops that we were just hitting there definitely characterises some parts of the trails around here. Bit of a horizon line ahead. And we're off and running. So yeah, some real tight corners in amongst all this kind of sort of faster bits. Really have to get on the brakes, pick your line. Real big drops developing in some of these corners where it's behind one of the tree roots. Oh, that's pretty loose and dry today. Then you're off the brakes, another bit of traversing across. Oh, that's fast. As you drop down towards the bottom of this section of trail, there's a couple of choices to either head right or left. We're taking the left-hand line, but if you take the right, it'll take you down to the lower section of the trail beyond the fire road. So both Repeat Offender and 3G, from the very top past the bog, all the way back down, almost to the kind of bottom of the hill, definitely two of the bigger trails on the hill. How you doing? Okay, so this is us just dropping into Repeat Offender, which is just around the corner from 3G. And I guess the top half of Repeat Offender, very similar in many ways to 3G in terms of the type of riding and type of trail. It's well bedded in. Seen quite a lot of use. There's quite a lot of these kind of, sort of rooted drops in some of the corners, but it's running so well at the moment. You know, a lot of work's been kind of done on it over the years to kind of keep it nice, keep it fresh, keep it going. Oh, sneaky off piece line. Strava hunters will be after me. The lower half though, and what we've kind of seen a bit, very different, very fresh, because of some of the issues caused by the storm. If I can put in a few diversions in the lower half of the trail to get around a lot of the wind blow. But I guess that's kind of presenting a few opportunities to change the trail in some ways. So there's some nice new berms. People are actually sessioning. The idea of pushing the bike back up at the Golfie is just bizarre to me, but there you go. But yeah, definitely still on the older aspect of the trail here. It's kind of rooted, bedded in. Good solid bit of trail here. Never too steep for any length of time. Definitely a few steeper sections in it. Cheeky big old root in the corner there. We're just dropping down now into some of the newer turns here. Lovely berms, just where you need them. Nice fast traverse just before another new section of trail. Little jump on the left hand side here. Because I'm a show pony, I always try and hit it. And again, nice new berms taking you down and through it. Walk back up a little bit there past those berms to the jump that we kind of went over. And you can see in the back of it here, it's kind of fairly safe landing, fairly you know, kind of useful run out from it, but it's absolutely starting to wear away already. I think that was definitely a concern when it was built, that the root plate there would start disintegrating. So yeah, just be aware of that if you are hitting it. But yeah, you can kind of see, you know, quite a few trees down in here, so we've had to kind of work around them, but getting an opportunity to put in some of these fantastic berms just adds something a little bit different to this kind of quite old trail, just to kind of refresh it and rejuvenate it a little bit. It's kind of great to see the trail getting a bit of love that way after the damage the storm's caused. Fantastic. So this lower section of the trail is kind of a bit of a mixed bag, a bit of old and a bit of new. It's actually, again, there's an option down here to take a left or a right. We're going to take a left down the older kind of aspect of the trail, just to kind of show you some of the more technical parts of it. So this probably is the roughest, most technical aspect of repeater fender. And over to my right hand side there, there's been some new berms put in, so it kind of offers a kind of easier, less challenging line, but they both come together here to rejoin the main trail to take us down to the road again. So yeah, a couple of fair sized rooty drops coming in there. You can see the road coming up. Again, there's a couple of choices here, left or right. We're going to go left because we head back up the hill. And back onto the main fire road again. Okay, so we're just dropping into the lower section of repeater fender, which is kind of probably top to bottom one of the longest trails on the hill. There's a lot on the go down here. Quite a steep techie trail in places. Other places you can really let off the brakes and get going, a bit like that. And then yeah, every now and again you are definitely back on the brakes. So yeah, so repeater fender, one of the biggest trails in the hill. Been used in races quite a lot over the years. It's been around for a while, but yeah, it's kind of probably more famous at the moment for the nice kind of bermed turns that were built by local builders and local trail association to open the trail back up again after the storm over the winter there. Yeah, it's kind of a nice way to finish the day. You definitely can't take your eyes off the prize. There's a few bits where you need to definitely kind of keep things going. But yeah, nice way to get yourself back down to the road and off the hill. And we're popping out back into the sunshine. There we go. Fantastic.
I've just got a bit of an interlude here to leave you with a message to say, if you're planning a trip to the Tweed Valley and you're looking for some guiding or a long weekends mountain bike holiday, then just comment below Trail Hub and we've got packages and trips that I reckon you might be interested in. So yeah, back to you, Gordy. Enjoy the rest of the tour.
We've been down 3G, we've been down repeater fender, and I guess if they are some of the more older established trails at the Golfie that kind of a lot of people ride in, what we're looking at doing now is a couple of the kind of newer trails that maybe don't get ridden quite as much, but are definitely establishing themselves as modern classics, and I guess in some ways test pieces of the harder trails here at the Golfie. So we look at a couple of trails, one called Second Base and one called Hangover. And yeah, very different to the likes of 3G, Repeat Offender, New York, which yeah, kind of don't have quite as much sustained, kind of steeper sections, technical sections as these two trails we're about to have a look at just now. So yeah, I'm gonna put my big boy pants on and drop down into Second Base to start with.
So the first kind of top section of Second Base, I guess, really lulls you in a false sense of security. It's not too steep, and once you get going, you'll see there's some really nice kind of berms down in amongst here. But yeah, it kind of changes character fairly quickly beyond the berms. So we'll get ourselves down in here and we'll stop off and have a look at a couple of features to give you an idea of what it is that's coming up later down the trail.
Okay, so coming straight out the lovely berms at the top of Second Base, you are kind of fairly quickly presented with a bit of a horizon line. And I think this kind of really sums up a lot of what happens on this trail. Certainly if you're down it for the first time, if you've not ridden it before, there's a lot of features on here that at first glance really do seem fairly intimidating. And as I say, a lot of horizon lines down here. But as you approach this, you will see most stuff is rollable. So a lot of it's kind of built up at the back. This one's obviously had a little bit of skid through though, so it's going to need some work. But most of the features that you're going to come across in Second Base, whilst definitely on the harder end of riding here at the Golfie, they are manageable at slow speeds, so you can kind of take it easy, get used to it, before coming back again at another point and attacking it a little bit more.
Feels very much like flat white in the early sections of this, perhaps steeper than. But fairly quickly, you can see it changes character there.
A few corners and a nice hip jump later, you probably start entering what is like probably the most sustained, difficult section of the trail. There's harder features than this, but altogether these are quite a few kind of hit after hit.
So once you're kind of further into the woods, we're definitely looking at some drops and steeper lines in here. We'll ride a few of these and stop at some of the bigger ones further down. Quite a bit steeper here as well, a bit more technical, a bit rougher and looser.
So after a couple of smaller drops, you're faced with a couple of fairly intimidating kind of sideways drops almost. You can see the trail coming in the top there and turns quite sharpest beyond the tree as you cross the drop. And there's another one just below that's fairly similar. Nice little kind of straight, which really does want to lead you straight on beyond this corner here. And in the last minute you realise actually this is another horizon line drop between these two trees. Carrying on, you've got another little drop coming in. Again, you can launch it or you can roll it, but the issue here, especially in the wet, is that the landing area down there, you can see there's quite a few roots ready to catch you.
So look at those kind of drops and corners back there. As I say, more of the same kind of coming up. There's a couple of bigger ones that really are quite intimidating as you come up, and especially for the first time or the 7th time.
A nice little straight here. Makes you think you can take your eye off the prize, but then you're probably faced with the biggest horizon line of the day, which takes you also down into a fair old rooty minefest, rocks poking through as well. And again, the berm at the bottom ain't brilliant, so you need to scrub it pretty fast as well to get yourself round there.
Steep shoot there into not a great berm at the end, to be honest. I need to kind of check your speed coming down that last bit there before you're dropping down onto this little path. And yeah, you have options for heading back up the hill from here, steep and straight up, or carry on down for the fire road basically. So dropping down here into Hangover, which not necessarily new, it's certainly one of the newer trails here at the Golfie. And again, it kind of sort of leads in fairly nicely. This kind of rough but manageable bit of trail. It definitely gets steeper as we kind of drop further down with it. A couple of quite tight little bits amongst the trees and some of the corners as well. Drop and turn. So Again, we really are spoiled with the conditions at the moment, but some of these kind of sections in the wet, really struggling for grip on some of those kind of muddier, rockier sections. Steep old berms. And much like other trails in this part of the hill, we are going to drop down over a walker's path and a climb back up. It's definitely worth keeping your eyes open as you're coming down here and when you're about to cross onto the shared trails. Menagerie, great word to describe a lot of this trail. And here we are, just dropping the shared trail straight over and into the next section. And probably an easier section, this bottom half on the whole. It flows a little bit more.
So coming up next, we've got a little batch of trails which Gordy has hand-picked, and basically these trails don't get the love they deserve. They're not talked about, but they are little hidden gems which you can now discover for yourself if you head on over to the next video, Gordy's Esoterica.